Maybe you might also want to consider this thing, right? Because there's price hike happening now. You might want to, give us a policy that might not be that affected by this price hike.
Jokes apart, they are a good plan. I mean, especially for people in the Middle East. So for an NRI, it might go even further, right? So
Okay.
it might even take more than a month, or in some cases, I've even seen it, the policy gets issued after 2-3 months.
Why would such NRIs even consider getting a term insurance when they already have so much of money? Hi folks, welcome to Ditto Insurance. I am Shashank, your host, and joining me is one of the familiar faces and our in-house senior advisor, Ajay. Now, Ajay here has advised over 4,000 clients. That's impressive, Ajay, and welcome to the podcast today. Now, Ajay, I know I called you here to get the top term plans for NRIs, but I have to tell you this. Now, NRIs are considered to be loaded with a lot of money. I, in fact, have a couple of uncles who stay in the UK and Gulf, right? And whenever they come over, they bring expensive electronic items as gifts, chocolates,
It's true, yeah.
and whatnot. I've always wondered, those people are so loaded all the time. Why would such NRIs even consider getting a term insurance when they already have so much of money?
That makes a lot of sense. I get this a lot, right? So, I mean, if you do see in countries like the US, UK, people who are usually techies, who are making good amount of money, right? And then you have your entrepreneurs there and millionaires who are there freelancing and getting good amount of money, right?
Correct.
So, if you do have like such a massive, net worth, right? So you're not probably going to think of term insurance because say if you have 100 million or you're a millionaire,
Correct.
right? So for those kind of people, term insurance is not something they're going to actively look at.
Correct.
Right? But if you do see, right, there are a good chunk of people over there who are not going to be actually millionaires, but still working over there.
Correct.
Right? So if you see, I even had a call with a person who was a crane driver, right? So yeah. So he was a crane driver in the UK, and he was earning decently.
Okay.
Right, but I mean, he was just trying to make ends meet. If you're looking at certain aspects, like there's also the purchasing power parity.
Correct.
Right. So I mean, even if you see someone who's probably earning like 25-30 lakhs here. Right, so
equivalent would be around 1-2 crores.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, right? So the purchasing power parity is something that is there. So even if I am earning 1 crore over there, right, probably most of that is going to go for the expenses that I'm going to be incurring there in the country.
Correct. And the goods and services are relatively expensive there.
That's
than
correct.
Here. The value is the same at the end of the day. That's what purchase power parity is.
Yes. So those are the aspects that you look at, and also, there is also this concept of, the dual income household, right?
Correct.
So if, the expenses get a little above hand, right? So one person can't manage. For example, if there's a husband-wife duo earning a good amount and, they're probably providing for their kids.
Correct. I know of one such scenario.
Yeah.
My own uncle, in fact, uncle and aunt. So uncle takes care of the house EMI that they have.
That's true.
And my aunt takes care of the regular expenses, monthly expenses.
True.
So yeah, go on. So I know of this duo household.
Exactly. So if you see, if either of them, for example, if there is a certain expense, each of them take care of 50% of the expenses of the household, right? So if one person, if their side of the income is no longer there, that's going to be a huge burden on the family.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
And also, I mean, even if they are at a pretty good place in life, they have a good amount of savings, good investments, real estate, all that.
Yeah.
Right? So given a time, where I probably need to use those things because I'm not really getting an active source of income.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially when the sole breadwinner is not around. I would not want to erode that wealth, right? Because those things are wealth builders, your mutual funds.
Correct.
All these things are there to compound and build your wealth. Why would you want to use those at the time of providing for your kids and all that, whereas just a small premium you probably pay, and your term insurance of say 3-4 crores is going to be there for you.
Understood.
Yeah.
So basically what you're getting at is buying a term insurance. If buying a term insurance or not is not the question. This brings us to the topic of today. Where should you buy a term insurance?
Right. So see, this is quite tricky, okay, because you have people who are in India, right? But at the moment, probably they came for a visit or vacation, and they'll be traveling back, to their country of where they're working or their residence, right? So could be, say, if somebody is in the US and they came to India for like 2 months for like a sabbatical or whatever, right?
Correct.
So there is those type of people, and there are people, for example, who are at the Gulf. Okay, they've been working there. They don't have much leaves. Probably once in like a blue moon they probably come here.
Yeah.
Right. So there are those type of people who probably want to do the application process over there.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
So you have both these people, and depending on their situation, at Ditto we help them out. Like assessing their situation and personally helping out as to how they can apply for the plan accordingly.
Understood.
Yeah.
But where is it cheaper to buy?
Right. So, I mean, I wouldn't say it as cheaper, okay, because the premiums are pretty much going to be the same. It's more of an operational issue, right? So, which is easier? I mean, definitely if the person is in India, right, for like say short duration, it's always better to get it done in India because, it's not much of a hassle. Like you don't need to coordinate in that said country wherever they are residing, and it's just easier to get it done in India because obviously the companies are based out of India, right? And I mean it's easier to get those kind of things sorted, right? So those things are there, right? And also another interesting fact is for NRIs, right? So you can also get your GST waiver, right? So you don't have to pay that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I mean there are a lot of benefits as well.
Okay.
Right. So I mean these aspects are there, and there are a lot of things, like for example while doing any insurance application process they'll see which is the country, right? So not every country around the world who is an NRI might be able to get, right? So every country has a list of standard countries that you probably have
as well.
Yeah.
So folks, if you are an NRI or if you are considering getting a term insurance, then Ditto can help you. We just not help you compare, but also buy a policy and also make you understand how insurance works. Now, if you're in the market to buy an insurance, consider Ditto because we are spam free and we're backed by Zerodha. We have a 4.9/5 rating and we only give you top-notch quality advices from members like Ajay himself. Now you can book a free of cost consultation call with the link in the description. Also, let me tell you that this link is a special one because anyone who applies through this link will get a priority call. Now back to you, Ajay. Suppose I'm an NRI and I want to get a term insurance. There are a lot of options, but where do I have to look and what factors do I have to consider when choosing the right term insurance?
Mostly you need to think in terms of like the operational side of things, right? So I mean term insurance application process is not a very simple process if you've ever been through it, right? It usually takes
underwriting, there is medicals.
Yes. So usually, I mean, a normal application which is quite straightforward for an Indian resident itself, it takes like around three weeks on average.
Okay, and what about for an NRI?
Yeah, so for an NRI, it might go even further, right? So it might even take more than a month, or in some cases, I've even seen it that the policy gets issued after 2-3 months, right? So because of the lack of documentation or some time where it takes a little more time to get the documentation, right? So because the salary slips might be in the language of the host country or those kind of things. A
lot of factors that influence how fast you can get. Okay, that's one. Second.
So operationally, I'll have to see. Then I'll have to make sure that my premiums are going to be efficient, right? And already I'm going to get the GST waiver, right? So that is something you can get it applied, and we can waive that off.
Are the premiums same for both an Indian and an NRI?
So see, an NRI can avail that additional GST waiver. So around 18%, it's like you're getting a lesser premium.
That makes sense. Correct. Yeah. You're already saving 18%.
Exactly. So that is again something. So that's why a lot of people prefer getting their term plans from India itself, right?
Have you had any experience apart from the crane operator? Any people who have come to you who are NRIs?
Yes, I've had a lot of people who are like considered HNIs in India. If you look at it without the purchasing per parity, right? So they
Great.
make a good amount of money and they want to go for a good term plan, and we guide them accordingly, right? So
Okay.
yes.
Any other factors?
So besides the operational things, right, and the premiums I told you about, we'll also see some features, okay, because not a lot of term plans offer things like riders, like say the critical illness rider
Yeah.
or those kind of things, right? So mostly they offer the plain vanilla plan for people.
Okay.
And there are options where they look at just the video medicals being done, right?
Oh,
so if
okay.
I am somebody who is earning really well, okay, I go beyond, right? So by the way, if you see NRIs itself, companies offer only if the income is usually above 10 lakhs for most companies.
Correct.
Right? So they have that kind of a barrier. So there are multiple factors you need to see, be it from the income to like what kind of expenses you're going to probably incur. Like, are you somebody who's going to come back and settle in India?
Okay.
Right? So do you want your calculations done based on that, so that you go for an ideal cover amount that suits that?
Okay.
Or are you someone who's going to permanently stay in your home country and just this is a cover that you just have for a safety purpose to probably take
Understood.
care of your parents here, right?
Makes sense.
So there are a lot of factors that play out.
Correct. So I think these factors also affect how much coverage one should get if they are
That's
an
correct.
NRI.
That's correct.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Because if they have a family back in the States or anywhere apart from India, 1 crore is nothing.
That's
Right, so
true.
they have to go in for higher coverage. But as opposed to this, if they have a family back in India, 1 crore, 2 crore, they might even be able to afford 5 crores.
Yes.
Understood. All right. Now I want to see what all insurers are there that provide policies for NRIs. So do you have a list for me that you can pull up and talk about?
Yes, I mean, good number of companies provide for NRIs, right?
Do
So-
all insurance companies favor NRIs? I mean, do they have policies for NRIs?
Some of them may not, right?
Okay.
So I mean, you do have like all these group insurance policies.
Okay.
Okay, but in retail insurance, I mean, majority of the companies, 80% of the companies that I know do provide
But
for
the top
NRIs.
players are
Yes,
providing it.
yes, yes.
Okay.
The top players definitely are providing. Yes.
Great. Okay. Ajay, coming to the main topic now, give me the best plans for NRIs that is out there in India right now.
So recently, I've seen Bajaj, offering some very good plans, and if you see, the cost is quite efficient. It's not that expensive, right, for the features they're probably providing. And if you see, they even take care of the medical costs.
E-touch plan you're talking
Yes,
about.
yes.
Okay.
E-touch is definitely a good option.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, they don't offer riders like the critical illness and all that, which usually for NRIs companies don't offer.
Okay.
Right. By default, the plan is like that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Fair
so
enough.
it's like it's like tailor made for NRIs. So it feels
Oh.
like that.
Correct.
Right. So
That's
is there.
one.
Yeah.
Next.
So the additional costs when it comes to medicals, especially when I'm abroad, even those are being borne by the company.
Okay.
Right, which most companies don't. I mean, the cost is usually borne by the person who's doing the application.
Understood.
Right.
Okay.
So when I'm abroad, if the person is in India, most companies usually bear that. Right. So
Understood.
I mean, their Bajaj, fares better, where I have the flexibility even if I am in my country of work. Right. So I am able to take care of those expenses as well for the medicals, because it
Okay.
might get expensive.
It does. It can.
Right.
Yeah. Definitely.
So that is something I've seen. And again, the turnaround time, right? So you see, from the time I've applied the policy till the time it gets issued, it's comparatively quicker in Bajaj.
Right. I get that. Now, before we go to the next one on the list, I was just very curious if the claim process is the same for someone who buys a term insurance in India versus if they are an NRI and they buy a term insurance in India. So, how different is the process?
So it is quite similar, right? So it might take a little more time, right? Considering the obvious reasons, right?
Correct.
So because, say, for example, the death certificate that the country is issuing might be in a different language. Like I mentioned earlier, these documents, translating them, bringing them, to the languages or English over here.
Correct.
Right. So those things will take some time, right? And again, the nominee will have to have these documents handy, which are quite similar to any other process
Okay.
for term insurance. You have like the death certificate, like I
Okay.
told right now. Then you have things like the claim intimation number, right?
Okay.
So which is something we usually get it generated once, say, you intimate the claim to us,
Okay.
right? So then you also have your nominee's details. So nominee has to provide their own residential proof, okay?
Okay.
And then the NEF details of the bank account, that is probably where they want to
transferring
receive the
the money, yeah.
amount, right? So in some cases you might also need an FIR. For example, death was due to unnatural causes or due to an accident. So those are also things that you might want to keep in
Understood.
handy. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Now, what's the second plan on your list for us?
Okay, so after Bajaj, I'm guessing HDFC Life.
Okay.
Right, so if you see, the Click to Protect Super is a good plan that they offer. Why I would bring them second is, again, though the premiums are slightly pricier on the pricier end.
HDFC is a little pricier.
Yeah, little pricey because they have that the premium
Correct.
kind of
And they're a big
segment.
brand.
Yes, the brand, right? But I mean, if you see, they do also have cater to a good number of countries, similar to
Correct.
Bajaj, right? And if you see, when it comes to the medicals aspect, right? So usually, if you see, I bring this medical aspect a lot,
Yeah.
right? So in India, they do cover that. I mean, abroad, it might be at the cost, but again, I usually focus on the turnaround time, like how long it takes to issue the policy,
Okay.
and how is it operationally, right? So they are quite responsive in terms of that, right? So that is the factor. And again, if someone does want riders like the critical illness rider,
Okay.
right, which a lot of people do take, right? So then mostly, in some countries they offer that rider as well.
Okay.
Right, so I mean, you might want to consider the purchasing power parity also, because even if I'm taking a 30 lakh critical illness rider, it might not be sufficient considering the medical costs in your country
the
of
other
work,
states,
or so that is something to look at. But overall, purely in terms of that, or you also have something called as like the maximum limit of how much I can take the term insurance for. Right,
Understood.
so companies like Bajaj and HDFC, okay, up to 10 CR, right? So I think till September, HDFC was offering, of this year, they were offering till 10 CR.
Okay.
Right, we don't know, I mean, they keep changing that, but the limit is quite good. Up to 10 crore, I can take a plan.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right. Now, give me another plan that the NRIs might want. And considering, maybe you might also want to consider this thing, right? Because there's price hike happening now. So you might want to price, give us a policy that might not be that affected by this price hike. But even if it is so, just let us know which plan it is on your mind.
So, I mean, the price hikes is not usually something which is in our control, right? So they do keep increasing it. Max Life is the next plan that I was probably going to bring up.
I think they're having a price hike.
Yes, they are having a price hike now that you brought that up, right? So but other than that, if you see, they do offer couple of good discounts, especially if you're a salaried individual. Right, for the first year they offer like 12%, right? So I mean, they've been running a lot of YouTube ads. Probably a couple of people would have seen that.
I get those all the time.
Yeah. So that is, I mean, but those jokes apart, they are a good plan, right? So I mean, especially for people in the Middle East, right? So they have like a very good list of centers there, where up to, I think, 30,000 or 35,000, I think around that 30,000 range, they cover the medical costs as well, right?
That's
so
a really good net.
Yeah, in the Gulf countries. So a lot of people who come from there, they find it quite easy to get a Max Life plan.
Understood. All right.
And also there is a concept called as VMER, right, which is the video medicals, as in, if I don't want to get my medical checkup and all those things done, right, if I am somebody who's having a very good income, like say above 35 lakhs, above 40 lakhs.
In your country, in their country.
I mean, I'm talking in terms of INR.
Okay.
Right, purely in terms of INR, so that there's no confusion.
Okay.
Right, so then in that case, right, so my limit is around 3 crores, up to 3 crores without getting any medicals also. The company might give a waiver and issue the policy with just a video medical, where a doctor is probably just going to ask me a couple of questions, and assuming that I don't have any other pre-existing conditions.
Right.
If I'm going to mention a pre-existing, definitely there will be a medical. Right, so in Max Life it's up to 3 CR, and also in like the previous ones, even HDFC has 3 CR, Bajaj has even up to 5 CR.
Oh, great.
That's right, great. So this is assuming you have a good income level. Yes.
Okay. Understood.
Yeah.
So these are the three on your list.
Yes.
Oh, great. This really clears the air. And you know what I'm going to do today? Run back to my home and tell my uncle that, hey, listen, you know what? Even though you're loaded, which I assume you are,
Yeah.
you should consider buying a term insurance.
Yes.
And he should probably consider buying it from Ditto, because we are here from step 1 till the end. Now, Ajay, thank you so much for joining us and taking out your time and helping us break down how term insurance for NRIs look like. And folks, like always, if you found the video useful, press that like button and don't forget to subscribe and comment if you have any doubts. Ajay here will be sure to answer them this time. Guys, happy insurance hunting!